In this video, you're going to see how to create a scene using GoGuardian and then how to apply that scene to a session. So you can see right now, I'm just on like my main dashboard of GoGuardian. I can see all my classes here. One thing I want to point out before we jump in is that you do not have to do a scene. When you start a session in GoGuardian, what happens is you'll be able to see in live time what is on each of your students' Chromebook screens. Scenes are like when you want to take that up a notch, when you want to either permit or allow certain websites or certain even number of tabs open for your students. So again, they're not 100% required. You can still use GoGuardian, see what's going on your students' Chromebook screens without applying a scene, but a scene is kind of like when you want to set like the parameters of what they can and can't do on their Chromebook. So you can see here, like when I go to scenes, I have one sample scene that I created, but let me show you how to start a scene from scratch. So I'm going to come up here to add scene. You can adjust the pattern, like the little icon of the scene if you'd like. You can give your scene a title. So maybe this is going to be like your project scene. The students are working on a project. You're going to be bouncing around from group to group. You want to make sure that students are not getting off task as you're meeting with different groups. So once you set a name and then a description if you'd like, you're going to come down here to filters. Now, this is going to sound confusing. Thank goodness they have this little explanation box here because you have two different options, two different modes that you can set as your filter. In allow mode, all websites will be allowed except for the ones that you block below. So this is where you just type in literally the sites that you do not want the students to be able to access. So you just simply either copy and paste or type the website URL in and you would hit add site. So just to show you, I'm assuming you would not need to block Google Classroom, but if you did, you would just type it in. And if that was a mistake, you can always remove it. So that's allow mode. In block mode, all websites will be blocked except for the ones allowed below. So let's just say, going back to our project example, the students are working on a project. You only want them to be able to go to their Google Drive, Google Classroom, and YouTube. You would just type in what you wanted students to be able to access. Everything else will be blocked. So again, a tiny bit confusing. Use this below to help you. If you're in blocked mode, all websites will be blocked except for the ones you allow, and you specify which ones that you want students to be able to go to. Allow mode, exact opposite. Everything will be allowed except for the specific ones that you block, okay? There's also this way, if you wanted to add to the scenes allowed sites, there's a way where you can do like a quick add over here. Like if you wanted to add like all things G Suite, basically, you could easily go to your GoGuardian quick list and add that way. Tab management is pretty interesting. You can auto open tabs. So right when the session, you start the GoGuardian session, it will automatically open up a set or just one tab. If you want to specify that here, you can absolutely do that. And then you can also set the maximum open tabs a student can have open. So you can set it to no limit, or I think it goes up to 9. One thing just to point out, I know with G Suite, we're very accustomed to things just saving automatically. You never know if a student's working on something for another class. They're waiting for their Flipgrid to upload that they worked on in another class or something, and they came to your class. This will automatically close out of their other tabs. So you might just want to use that one carefully where you have maximum open tabs. So that's a brief overview of how to create a scene. I do highly recommend, if you get stuck at any point, I find their help center to be actually very helpful. So there's a quick link to how to create and apply a scene, which I'm showing you how to do right now. using different scenes for different groups. And then this is a big one. My student is stuck in a scene. How do I override a scene? Maybe a student comes to you from another class and whatever scene was applied in their last class is still being applied, and that doesn't really work well for you with what you have the students doing. You'll see like a yellow warning bar, and you'll be able to refresh their scene and apply your scene and kind of override the other scene if need be. So once you're all done, you have this all set, you're going to hit save scene. And now you can see I just made my project scene. You can always delete a scene when you no longer need it. Now, two things I'm going to show you. So if you want this scene to apply right away, let's just say this is just my sample class. This is pretty much always set to 45 minutes. Apply a scene to this session. You can pick which one you want to apply, or you can create a scene. We just made the project scene. So I'm going to start the session and it will automatically apply the project scene. Let's just say we're working and I no longer need this scene to apply. I can hit none. I can change to a different scene. I'm just going to end this just to show you. Let's just say that you had started a session and you forgot to apply your scene to the session. And you see kids on websites you don't want them on, or something's going on. You can always, so I started this session. You can see what the student screen is on right here. If they were on something, you can always apply it. So we can apply that project scene. So even if you forgot to put that when you first launched the session, do not worry, you can still apply a scene once your session is underway. So that's a quick overview of how to create a scene, the difference between allow mode and block mode. I know it's a little confusing, the tab management that you have, but just keep in mind, you don't need to do a scene. It's not 100% necessary. You'll still be able to monitor the Chromebook screens of your students once you start a session. A scene is just an extra way to set parameters on what you do or don't want the students to go to.